Remember the lollipop-loving detective with the iconic bald head? Kojak, 1973 to 1978, was more than just a crime drama. It was a cultural phenomenon. Led by the unforgettable Telly Savalas as Lieutenant Theo Kojak, the show captivated audiences with its gritty storylines, street-smart charm, and stylish flair. But what happened to the cast after the cameras stopped rolling? In this video, we take a nostalgic journey through time to see how the beloved stars of Kojak have changed, then and now, in 2025. From career transformations to heartwarming life updates, discover where they are today and how far they've come since their days on the mean streets of 1970s New York. Get ready to be surprised, inspired, and maybe even a little emotional. Telly Savalas, who portrayed the iconic Lieutenant Theo Kojak, was 51 when he took on the role of the lollipop-loving, street-smart detective. His performance, defined by a cool swagger and tough love approach, became legendary. Though professionally celebrated, Savalas's personal life was far from smooth. He married 3 times, with his longest union being to Julie Hovland, with whom he had 2 children, Christian and Ariana. From prior relationships, he had 4 other children, including actor Nick Savalas. His family life was strained by fame and frequent absences, and several of his children later spoke of emotional distance. Savalas faced deep struggles with gambling addiction, which left his finances unstable despite his fame. After Kojak, he struggled to find roles of equal prestige and endured health problems including bladder cancer. He died on January 22, 1994, at age 72. His estate was reportedly worth around $500,000 at the time of his death, reduced by years of medical bills and gambling debts. Despite a career peak many envied, Savalas's final years were marked by regret, failed reconciliations, and a quiet, somber farewell in his California home. Dan Fraser, who played Captain Frank McNeil, Kojak's often exasperated superior, was 53 when the series began. A reliable character actor, Fraser brought warmth and conflicted authority to the role. Off-screen, Fraser lived a relatively low-profile life, but his emotional battles ran deep. He was married to his high school sweetheart, Lillian, for nearly 40 years until her passing in 1996, and they had 1 daughter, Marcia, who struggled with mental illness and lived in a care facility most of her life. Fraser found it difficult to land steady work after Kojak, relegated to minor roles and struggling financially during the 1980s. He lived modestly in a rent-controlled New York apartment and supplemented his income by teaching acting classes. Fraser also suffered from recurring depression, especially following his wife's death. He passed away quietly in 2011 at the age of 90 due to cardiac arrest. At the time of his passing, his estate was valued at less than $200,000, and most of it was left to his daughter's care trust. His legacy, while quiet, is remembered fondly by fans of classic television. Kevin Dobson, who portrayed Detective Bobby Crocker, Kojak's sharp, ambitious young partner, was only 30 when he landed the role that would define his early career. With charm and grit, Dobson's performance helped humanize the hard-nosed crime world of the show. After Kojak, he found moderate success on other TV shows, but he never regained the prominence he had in the 1970s. Married to Susan Savage for over 4 decades, the couple had 3 children, Marissa, Sean, and Patrick, but the marriage was marked by long separations and growing emotional distance. Dobson also battled PTSD from his time in the military, which he rarely spoke about publicly but that deeply affected his personal life. In the 2000s, he filed for bankruptcy after a failed investment in a stage production. He died on September 6, 2020, from an autoimmune complication. Despite past financial troubles, his estate had modestly recovered and was estimated at $250,000. Dobson is remembered as a warm presence on screen who faced quiet inner storms off camera. George Savalas, younger brother to Telly Savalas, played Detective Stavros with a subdued strength that made him a steadying presence on the show. He was 42 when Kojak premiered, and his career was largely shaped by his older brother's shadow. George was married to Robin Savalas and had 6 children: Tina, Jennifer, Gregory, Matthew, Christina, and Peter. While he was devoted to his family, the financial burden of raising 6 children on a modest actor's income proved immense. After Kojak, acting roles became scarce, and George turned to teaching drama and directing small theater productions, struggling emotionally with his faded fame. He suffered from a long bout of leukemia, and medical costs further strained the family's finances. He passed away on October 2, 1985, at just 60 years old. His estate was reportedly under $100,000, burdened by medical debt. Though overshadowed by his brother's fame, George was cherished for his sincerity and quiet dignity, both on and off screen. Mark Russell portrayed Detective Saperstein, the calm, observant team member whose steady demeanor brought depth to the precinct dynamic. He was 50 when the series began and had already worked for years in television, often uncredited. Russell's real life was quieter but tragic. He never married and reportedly lived with his elderly mother until her death in the early 1980s. He had no children and was known to be a recluse in his later years. Though he continued to act sporadically after Kojak, including minor guest spots on TV dramas, Russell faded from the industry entirely by the 1990s. A diagnosed schizophrenic, he spent his later years in a managed care facility in Nevada. He died in 2006 at the age of 83. His estate was minimal, with an estimated value under $50,000, and most of his belongings were auctioned off to cover care costs. Despite a small role, his portrayal on Kojak earned respect, though he lived largely forgotten and alone in his final decades. Roger Robinson, who portrayed Detective Gil Weaver in recurring appearances, was 33 when he joined Kojak. With a composed intensity, his character added depth to the precinct's racial and generational dynamics. Off-screen, Robinson was a stage veteran, but despite winning acclaim in theater, his on-screen opportunities remained limited. He married once, to costume designer Evelyn Parr, but the marriage collapsed in the mid-1980s under the weight of financial instability and Robinson's growing alcoholism. They had one son, Marcus, who later became estranged after multiple failed reconciliation attempts. After Kojak, Roger returned to theater, where he found brief career revival, yet still struggled with depression and health issues. Diagnosed with diabetes and suffering from bouts of homelessness during the 1990s, he nonetheless managed a late career comeback, winning a Tony Award in 2009. He died on September 26, 2018, at age 78 due to cardiac arrest. At the time of his death, his estate was worth approximately $150,000, most of which was left to his estranged son, despite years of separation. Robinson was remembered as a powerhouse talent too often neglected by Hollywood. Bora Silver, who portrayed Prince/Dr. Prince in 12 episodes of Kojak, was likely in his late 40s when he took on the recurring role. Though his appearances were brief, his presence was enigmatic, adding a subtle tension to the episodes in which he featured. Very little is publicly known about Silver's background, which fueled many rumors throughout the industry. He never married and was intensely private, rarely engaging with co-stars outside of professional obligations. Whispered accounts among crew members hinted at long-standing struggles with mental health, possibly undiagnosed bipolar disorder. After his time on Kojak, Silver abruptly disappeared from public life, reportedly retreating to a rural cabin in upstate New York. Some claimed he became a hermit, consumed by paranoia, while others believed he turned to painting as a means of therapy, selling abstract art under a false name at small-town fairs. His exact date of death remains uncertain, but it is widely believed he died from a stroke in the early 2000s. No funeral announcements were made, and no known relatives came forward. At the time of his death, his estimated net worth was under $5,000, consisting mostly of unsold artwork and modest belongings. He died penniless, alone, and largely forgotten by Hollywood. Nick Dennis, who appeared in 9 episodes as Constantine/Charlie, was 61 in 1974 and brought an affable, immigrant charm to his brief but memorable role. Born in Greece, he immigrated to the U.S. in the 1930s and carved out a niche playing ethnic roles across dozens of films and TV shows. Despite his Hollywood experience, Dennis never found lasting fame. He was married for over 30 years to Helen Marcos, a fellow Greek-American, but they remained childless and endured periods of separation, particularly during Dennis's prolonged absences for filming. In the late 70s, Dennis was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, forcing an early retirement. Isolated and dealing with growing financial difficulty due to mounting healthcare bills, he sold his home and lived in assisted housing. He passed away on November 14, 1980, at the age of 67. His estate was valued under $75,000. Though largely forgotten by the mainstream, Dennis remains a beloved figure in the Greek-American acting community, and is remembered for his pioneering roles and gentle spirit. Darryl Zwerling, who portrayed Dr. Agajanian, was 39 during his time on Kojak, playing the meticulous and sometimes cold forensic expert. Though a capable character actor, Zwerling's career remained limited to small parts, most notably in Chinatown. Off-screen, his life was cloaked in privacy. He never married and had no known children. Friends described him as introverted and obsessive, often spending days immersed in research for minor roles. His life took a downturn in the 1980s when his sister died unexpectedly, leaving him in a deep emotional spiral. He gradually withdrew from the industry and lived modestly in a rent-controlled apartment in Hollywood. A collector of rare books, Zwerling's apartment was crammed with literary artifacts rather than mementos of his acting career. He died on April 11, 2014, at age 85 from natural causes. His estate, largely consisting of rare volumes and modest savings, was valued at approximately $100,000. Though his name faded, his brief roles left an impression on dedicated fans of 1970s television. Bruce Kirby, who played Sergeant Alvine, was 45 when he appeared on Kojak, bringing a blue-collar realism to the supporting role. With a long resume of television credits, Kirby was a seasoned character actor often cast as detectives and working-class figures. He was married to actress Lucia DiStefano, with whom he had 2 sons, including actor Bruno Kirby. While professionally consistent, Bruce's home life suffered after the untimely death of Bruno from leukemia in 2006. The tragedy deeply affected him, and he withdrew from public appearances. He had divorced Lucia in the 1980s, and though he later remarried, he remained haunted by family loss. He continued acting sporadically into his 80s but lived frugally in a small West Hollywood condo. Kirby passed away on January 24, 2021, at the age of 95. His estate, modest but secure, was valued around $300,000. He left the bulk of it to a cancer charity in honor of his late son. He was remembered by peers as the quintessential working actor, always professional, rarely celebrated. Charlie Pickerney, who appeared in multiple roles including Cabby and Dennis, was 38 during his time on Kojak and is still alive in 2025. As both an actor and stuntman, Pickerney built a reputation for physical performance and dangerous stunt work. However, his career behind the camera often overshadowed his on-screen roles. He married his longtime partner, Linda, in the late 1970s, and the couple had 4 children, Charlie Jr., Vincent, Lisa, and Dominic. Their marriage, though enduring, was tested by Pickerney's frequent absences and several near-death accidents on set. He suffered multiple injuries over the decades, including a broken spine during a 1984 stunt that nearly ended his career. Financially, he invested well in real estate and currently enjoys a quiet retirement in Arizona. Despite being semi-retired, he still consults on stunt coordination. As of 2025, he is 90 years old and his net worth is estimated around $1.5 million. Though not a household name, he is revered within the stunt community as a pioneer and mentor. Victor Campos, who portrayed Detective Gomez in Kojak, remains an enigmatic figure due to the limited public documentation of his personal life. He was estimated to be in his late 30s during the show's run, delivering a subtle but effective presence in the Precinct's ensemble. Little is known about his life off-camera, which has led to much speculation. He was rumored to have been married to a schoolteacher named Clarissa Mendez in the early 1970s, but there are no public records of any divorce or children. Campos reportedly struggled with disillusionment after Kojak, as roles became scarce and typecasting limited his growth in the industry. He is believed to have left acting by the early 1980s, reportedly moving to New Mexico to pursue a quieter life as a painting instructor. Unverified reports suggest he battled depression and financial hardship in his later years, living off small pension checks. His current status remains unclear, though some believe he may have passed away quietly in the 2000s. Due to the lack of confirmed information, no estate value is publicly known. Alan Manson, who played Lieutenant Steve Nicola, was 60 when he appeared on Kojak, embodying a stern, traditional lawman clashing with Kojak's unorthodox methods. Manson had been a prolific character actor for decades, often typecast as authority figures. His personal life was equally rigid. He was married to concert pianist Sylvia Reiner, a union marked by cold detachment and ambition rather than warmth. The couple had one daughter, Elaine, but their strained family dynamic led to her eventual estrangement. After retiring in the late 1980s, Manson retreated from public life following a prostate cancer diagnosis. He remained largely isolated, rejecting most social engagements and even correspondence with former co-stars. He passed away on February 22, 2002, at the age of 89. His estate, valued at roughly $250,000, was left entirely to a historical film preservation charity, with nothing allocated to his daughter. Though he was forgotten by many in the industry, film scholars occasionally revisit his body of work for its unique contributions to post-war television acting. Raymond Singer, who appeared as Dr. Moskowitz in Kojak, is another cast member with scarce public details. Likely in his mid-40s during his time on the show, Singer's character provided technical expertise in medical or forensic scenes, often with a dry wit. Off-screen, he reportedly led a double life, dividing time between acting and teaching theater at a local college in the New York area. Never married, Singer was known among colleagues as deeply reclusive, preferring solitude and books over industry events. His career after Kojak was minimal, with only a few scattered stage credits in regional theater. Rumors of a nervous breakdown in the late 1980s led to his full withdrawal from public life. Some reports claim he lived in assisted housing in Queens for the remainder of his life, battling schizophrenia and agoraphobia. The date of his death remains unconfirmed, but he is believed to have passed away in obscurity sometime in the late 1990s. With no known heirs, his modest estate, if any, remains unaccounted for and unclaimed. Who is your favorite character from the Kojak? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.